In this video we're going to take a look at some of the main types of drill bits. First here we have the twist bit. They're probably the ones you're more familiar with. They come in a range of sizes and they come designed for different materials, so wood or metal or even up to masonry and stone. The Forstner bits here are slightly different. They are wider bits and they're designed to create a wide hole with a flat base. Next over we have flat bits. Now flat bits, similarly, they're designed to make a specific sized hole, but they work in a slightly different way, and we'll look at that in a minute. Lastly, we have the hole saw, quite a big one, not a particularly common one, but we'll take a look in a minute as well. The twist bit, first of all, you can see a fairly standard hole that you're drilling there. Can be done part of the way through or fully through a piece of wood. Now the flat bit, as you can see, the point is just helping to guide it and keeping it moving quite quickly. That point though does create quite a bit of damage at the bottom of the hole, which you'll see in a little more detail in a minute. Now we're going to use a similar size Forstner bit just to get a real feel for the difference between the two. As we can see, the twist bit, first of all, we've got quite a nice small defined hole, very easy to use, lots of applications, very good for fitting screws. The flat bit, again, like we're saying about this point, it does create quite a bit of damage in the centre there. These ones are good for drilling fast if you need to drill all the way through a piece of material, but sometimes that damage can just make it a little less desirable. The Forstner bit leaves a lovely flat base in the hole that it cuts, so they're quite good for a range of applications where you don't have to drill right the way through a piece of material. We're going to take a look at the hole saw as well. Now, I'm using quite thick plywood, so I'm going to drill a pilot hole first just to make sure that it's going to go straight in the direction I want it to. I'm just going to do it with a twist bit. Now the hole saw has a twist bit mounted in the centre to help guide it, but it's quite large, so the pilot hole does help in this case. We're going to make sure the torque settings are right up, and we're using the bigger drill for this one. As you can see, the drill bit goes through first. The actual blue hole saw section on the outside has teeth similar to a tenon saw, for example, which will gradually work its way through the material. It does take a while. Now the main difference here is with the other bits, they will tend to just tear up the inside and just leave you with sawdust. The hole saw will take out a section and keep it fairly intact. So if you were looking to make a round section of a particular size, say you wanted a wheel for a child's toy or something, a hole saw is a very useful thing to have. The last drill bit that we're going to take a look at, again, is a slightly specific one. It's a countersink rose. Now, when fitting screws, usually we want to keep this as tidy as possible. The countersink rose lets us add a chamfer to the top of a drilled hole that will just help us to fit a screw in flush to the surface of the wood. Now, we're just going to use some standard Phillips screws here with countersinks. Just going to make sure that we swap the torque settings on the drill down. Using the lower torque settings is just going to stop us from rounding off the screw heads. You can see there the first one hasn't had a countersink applied. The second hole there has had a countersink, and it does make a big difference to how flush and tidy they look at the end.